testing out motion tracking and stabilization. I've got the motion tracker on that way, hopefully, while I'm walking here. It not only keeps me in a stable sense, even though my arm is moving around considerably, at least it should be keeping the camera movement fairly smooth compared to what it would be if it wasn't on a stabilizer. And then on top of it, with the AI tracker, it should be keeping me within frame a lot better because I have it set up a little bit higher on keeping my torso, well, at least shoulders and head within camera. This way we can see as I move my arm around or change positions with the camera itself, that it will continue to try to keep me in frame even with all the different movement. And then with me switching hands back and forth, I think it actually does pretty good from what I've been seeing in the testing. I did a little bit yesterday when it first got here. I was hoping to do a lot more, but unfortunately there was a water main break down the road, so we had a lot of big dump trucks and excavators and things going through, so I wasn't about to get in their way. But we'll see here in a minute what it looks like down there where they were working. I just want to be able to thoroughly test this in a brighter environment in the yards, especially because there's so many dips and divots and little mounds and things. So it should give a good enough experience of walking like along a hiking trail or something in the woods, for the aspect of being on an uneven terrain where you're constantly bouncing or shifting besides your typical movement while you're walking. And in our case, if you were to be somebody in the blind community or low vision community who uses a white cane, you would have your cane in one hand and this in the other. And I want to make sure that while we're moving like that, that it is going to work the way we would want. Because this could be a game changer for our community when it comes to content creation and doing video. Or even in some cases, you could do this as a podcast. You could record an episode while you're out walking on a decent mic in your phone and not have to worry about having bad audio quality. Or maybe you do a podcast already, but maybe you want to do a video podcast, in which case this could be perfect to give you that higher quality along to go with your audio. Myself, I think this is doing fairly well. The nice thing is you've got the gimbal itself, and then you've got the extension arm, which doubles as a tripod. So it makes it very easy to swap back and forth between hands. It's got all kinds of buttons and knobs for different features: focus, zoom in, zoom out. Now, that is one thing that I will mention, is that not all of these features work on the various different video and photo apps. Some of these features only work on the Hohem Joy app, and I have not played with the app itself yet. I have read reviews on the app, and I don't know if I'm going to like it based on reading those reviews. I am at least going to check it out and give you my honest opinion at the end of this video. But my primary concept for this was I don't care what features are in their app. I really don't. My idea was the AI tracker and the stability that it can give for content creators, whether you're low vision or not, and the ease of use. Now, it would be nice if every feature worked on every app, whether it was the built-in video phone camera app, or if it's the camera app on Facebook or any other social media, or any other app available on the Apple Store or the Google Store. But that's not the case. So there are some features that are only for their app, but that's okay. They don't necessarily need to work for you on the gimbal to be able to still get that good quality video. It's just something you preset within your camera while you're preparing, and you call it good. You don't have no adjustment on the fly. That's okay. So hopefully this portion of the video turned out good, and we will find out here momentarily. Another thing is though the motion tracker does have a green and red light to indicate its operation, as well as a fill light, the size of that little light is very small. So depending on the lighting situation in your vision, depends on whether or not you'll be able to see the little green or red dot to let you know what it's doing. The white fill light that it uses to signal that it's on and everything, that you should be able to see because it's fairly bright. But the little green and red one is very, very tiny above the sensor, so it may be hard to see that depending on the lighting situation. If you're outdoors, like it's bright like now, it is hard, but being in the shade, it is a little bit easier to see a slight hue. But it would be better if that light were just maybe a tad bit bigger to make it a little bit easier, or maybe give it another audible beep, just like when turning on the gimbal, so that you know that that sensor is on as well and functioning, or something. Overall, I still like it. And the nice part is I can take you like this right now, and I can put out the arms for the tripod. We'll sit you right here on the desk. See? Hands free. And you're still following. And this is why I think the Hohem is a perfect gimbal for those of us who are content creators, whether you want to do videos, whether you want to do podcasting, photography, interviews, anything like that. I think this is good because I'm not touching the camera. The AI sensor is automatically following me, so I could sit here and walk back and forth and just talk to you in a normal tone of voice, and I will stay in frame just as I want to, rather than struggling to see, am I in frame? Am I in range? This makes things a heck of a lot easier. And this is only after 24 hours of having it, and I am thoroughly impressed. So we shall see here how we do for a nice little walk. Let's see how this does going for a walk down the road. Alright. Hopefully we're staying in frame and not bouncing around too much. But this should be a nice good thorough test. I'm sure the audio is probably a little bit different now from a moment ago. I actually had to swap out my headphones I had to swap out the microphone for my headphones because of it being so long out of the phone. It throws the balance off the gimbal, which was overworking the gimbal, so we had to switch. And wow, they didn't tear up nowhere near as much as I thought they were down here, but this gives a good thorough test of walking down the road with the gimbal. And this way we can see how well it does walking in the different environments, walking on a smooth surface like pavement versus walking in a yard with all kinds of ruts and bumps like you're out in the woods almost. This way you can really see in the aspect of how stable it actually makes the video. And yeah, my arm still moves around while I'm walking, but that's the whole purpose of the gimbal, is to take a lot of that shake out. And rather than having a clunky looking bouncing around video, you have a little bit more smoother of an experience. And I think it's doing pretty good. And with the AI tracker, I think it does even better compared to a lot of the other gimbals out there that have the motion stabilization and AI tracking that don't do so well, because it's all built into their app, which relies solely on the camera, and that doesn't always work either. Compared to this, where the tracking system is its own little dedicated thing that sits on the gimbal and makes things a lot easier. So I think it's doing pretty good. We've walked down the road, we've walked through the yard a few times now, and it seems to do very well with all of the different pitches and rolls within the environment while I'm walking. It's not too bumpy, it's fairly smooth, and the AI tracker does amazing. This is so much better than my other gimbal. Alright, so now we're doing a little bit more testing of the Hohem iSteady M6 kit. I've had it for a couple days now. As you've seen in these videos, I'm trying to do my best to do a thorough test of the AI sensor when it comes to walking and moving in different manners to see how well it tracks and stays positioned, as well as how easy it is to work with it in the different lighting situations, whether it's ultra bright like it is out like right now and super sunny, and how it is overcast and inside outside situations. And unfortunately, with the gimbal and the microphone set I have for a lapel mic, they wouldn't fit properly to be able to do a test with those because it makes the phones too long. I even bought an adapter hoping it would make it short enough, and it did. So thankfully I have this wonderful set of open run bone conductive headphones by Shock to be able to do this test and be able to have audio that is somewhat decent compared to the microphone on the phones themselves. And depending on the lighting situation and depending on your vision, you may be able to see the little indicator light on the AI tracker. For me, it's a little small, but depending on how dark of an environment I'm in, like in the shade right now, I can see it because it's a little bright, thankfully. But I keep moving so we can see how well it continues to track me, and if it continues to track me while my head's away, or if it does go by more of a facial kind of thing where it requires your face to be seen. So it's iffy, you know, that's the joys of AI. Myself, I think it's been doing pretty well. It's fairly easy to figure out the controls for using it with just about any app. Alright, now we're doing a quick test of the AI tracker. I want to see how far we can go from it before it actually loses sight. It looks like you might have stayed on me that whole time. that'll be interesting to see in the playback. This isn't a variable situation with the noise in the background and with the lighting. It's nice when they show up in the middle of doing things. Hey, but that's the joys of being a content creator, eh? Go with the flow, get the job done, shoot it over if you have to. No fuss, no muss. But to me, it seems like it actually went pretty well. As you can tell, this yard is a little bit bumpy, and that's why I love trying out this test, is because you never know where you might just stumble and break an ankle. Alright, so I've been testing the Hohem iSteady M6 kit for the past few days. Overall, I think it's a great little gimbal. There's plenty of features. The phone holder could be a little bit better, but it works. When it comes to the aspect of versatility with external microphones and things like that, it's going to be a little bit more on the complicated side. There is a 7-inch maximum phone size, which my phones, the iPhone 14 Pro Max and the Samsung S22 Ultra, are 6.8 and 6.9 inches without cases. With the cases on, you might as well say 6.9 and 7.0. So my Samsung is at the maximum size and the iPhone is nearly there. So I did attempt to see how much room there was to give for that to allow for the phone to be offset just a bit with a external mic attached. Unfortunately, due to this fact, the phones are too far off balance and overwork the gimbal, which means that you either need a Bluetooth microphone set or you use the built-in microphone on the phones themselves, which may not necessarily give you the best audio quality that you could have if you were using a external mic that was plugged directly in. When it comes to the aspect of the AI tracker and usability in that sense, it is fairly easy to get the motion tracker to follow you. and it does keep hold of you within sight for a fair amount of distance. During my testing, as you've seen, I walked about 15 to 20 foot away from the AI tracker, and it continued to follow me in that circle. Now, one downside is not all of the features do work on every camera app. There is a few of them that are app specific, such as the focus knob and the zoom control for zooming in and zooming out. Those are reserved specifically for in the Hohem app. The AI tracker is capable of being used across any of the phone apps that you want to use with a camera or video. As it is its own little device, it has its own power source that is directly through the Hohem itself. There are 3 different hand gestures that you can use to be able to get the motion tracker to recognize you. One being the OK sign. This turns on the sensor to follow you. Now, to turn the sensor on itself, it does have a button on the side. But to turn on the sensor for tracking, you use the OK pinch sign. This allows the tracker to follow you. You can use a standard palm with your face in view, and it will turn off the tracking system. You can also do the gesture of making like a picture frame, and it will turn on the ability to reposition yourself within frame, and then you use the gesture again to lock yourself in that orientation. Overall, I like this little gimbal. I'm doing the last of the tests right now while I'm doing this recording. So you'll be able to get a good sense of what I think about the Hohem Joy app itself, as well as its usability with the gimbal. I think that it has overall performed very well. I think that the Hohem Joy app per se, and the way that the app controls the gimbal, could use some improvement, but for the most part, I think it does fairly well. Now, for creating the shorter clips that it does good. I think that the little demonstration tutorials that are within the app to show you how to do things could definitely be better. I think that the little description underneath of the settings for going into each of the different little preset modes could also use improvement. They are very faint letters on a white background. When it comes to the aspect of stabilization, ease of use, and features, I think that it is amazing. I've got a different brand of gimbal, and there's no comparison. I even actually tried to use my other one to show you a comparison, but unfortunately that one is not going to fit either one of my phones. Now, yes, I could go find one of my older phones and still do this, but I really don't see a reason why. Because that in itself, that my newer phone cannot fit into the older gimbal, that's just a letdown in itself. Because it would have been a nice little comparison to see the differences in the app controls in the AI tracking. But at the same time, there's no comparison, as I said. The AI tracker on the Hohem iSteady M6 kit, there is no match in the other brand that I have. That one is clunky and it doesn't track nowhere near as good as this one does right here. Alright, so I've been testing this for a while. Just finished the last one just a second ago with you guys. And when it comes to our community of the low vision and blind, I think this is probably going to be the best of the different selfie sticks and gimbals out there on the market. This one does have the ability to use a lot of different features. However, not all of these features are per se accessible or accessible friendly. Now, depending on your phone, it may be able to possibly read everything on the screen for you. It may not. That's one of the downfalls when it comes to AI and the technology when it comes to things being on the screen. You would think that they would make it read absolutely everything and help make it a little bit easier for finding things, but you know, all these things are still a very big work in progress. Overall, 4 out of 5. It is fairly simple to use. When it comes to the aspect of reading the instructions, you're definitely going to have fun with that little booklet. However, you may not have to if you don't want to. I am actually planning on going through and reading all of it and doing a how to use video as well on this gimbal. And in which case, I'll cover everything in the how-to video on what everything does. Not only by reading you what is in the manual, but showing you as well. When it comes to the aspect of usability and accessibility, it's not the best, but it is a lot better than other options out there. A couple of the features are specifically tied directly to the Hohem Joy app, and the AI tracker is universal, no matter whether you're using it on a Facebook live stream or picture, or whether you're using it on TikTok or whatever it is you want to do. The hand gestures for somebody who are low vision should be fairly simple. However, if you are one of our blind community members who can see nothing or very, very little, it may be a little bit more difficult and you may need assistance. But overall, it's not a bad gimbal. It's definitely going to help me with creating more content for you here on this channel. Stay tuned for more because I will definitely be doing some updates on it over time, as well as sharing my experience with it while we create other videos. Hope you found today's video helpful. If you have any questions, by all means, please feel free to drop them down below in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you in the next episode.